We are live. Good to see you, my friend. Raj Grover, High Tide. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see a very familiar face. You're making me feel comfortable in Germany. Thank you so much, Chad, for being here.
You were saying before we started going live here, nice to see some familiar faces in North America outside of me. Are you seeing a lot of faces back from home?
I am.
Yeah.
A huge Canadian conventions here from Canada. Obviously, we are here. You're here. And then a bunch of other licensed producers that I know that are here as well. And Germany and Europe are becoming more and more material to what we're doing in cannabis. And we are welcomed here. So I'm very, very happy to be here.
Well, yesterday I was out for lunch and was having lunch on this patio, and this group of 9 females came in, and I looked over. It was so unusual, but 6 ashtrays. They're all smoking cigarettes, and I'm thinking, you start to have some education when it comes to flower. It's amazing what the upside potential could be in this German market.
I was going to say, can we convert the cigarettes into joints?
Exactly.
I think we can. There's potential here, Chad.
Good stuff. How you feeling? You got in last night?
Late last night, or close to 9 p.m. and I'm a little jet lagged. And when I was at the stage,
can't tell, my friend. You look sharp.
Yeah, I had a double espresso just
Did
before
you?
you, because I know you're going to drill me. So I said I better be ready for this. But no, I'm a little jet lagged right now.
Yeah.
First day is always like that.
It's
tomorrow's better.
Yeah.
So
I hear
take it
ya.
easy on me, okay?
I will.
All right.
So, first question. No, here we go. But listen, you had your earnings come out on Monday. I just want to highlight some of the numbers. But same store sales were up 6%. National average is showing around 2% as well. One thing you highlighted, 6 million Cabana Club and Elite members worldwide, but more importantly, 1.9 million of that is Canadian members, 97,000 Elite members. That's up 120% year over year. So what's happening here?
The same thing is happening that's been happening for a few years now.
Yeah.
It's like, look, we put our customer first, we put our members first, and build our entire program around club members.
Yep.
We stick to our brand promise of the lowest price guaranteed at the largest selection of cannabis, premium cannabis. And we're able to offer that to our customers consistently. We also do some very savvy promotions, as you know, our annual 420 car giveaway. And this year we gave away $100,000 in cash. But more important is we consistently message our member community. We put customer first. We treat them as God.
Yeah.
You don't have the customers, you don't have a business.
Of course.
And that is how we treat our club members. And that's clearly showing up. Not only they continue to come back very repeatedly and consistently, they're now inviting their friends and family to join us. So Cabana Club is exploding. Cabana Club has grown 33% again year over year, which is music to my ears, 8% sequentially. And I know my numbers because I knew you were going to ask me this. Elite has grown 120% year over year and 20% sequentially.
So when you look at this Canadian, it's nice to see the positive sentiment that's going around about Canadian companies right now and the growth. Every week I do these weekly recaps. They get great numbers. A lot of people like them. And it seems like every single week I'm highlighting about another expansion, another store opening for High Tide. You reported 200 stores in your latest earnings, and you said you want to get to 300. So how does that happen, and how does that work over what kind of timeline? Is that a realistic goal?
It's absolutely a realistic goal. Look, there's a bigger number in my head, but I'm not telling you that right now because otherwise it starts becoming a little unbelievable. But look at our track record. We said we'll get to 200. In fact, our long-term target was 250. We gladly raised it to 300. We were the ones that effectively lobbied the Ontario government for the rest of the industry to open up that store cap. So Ontario alone, Chad, gives me the opportunity to add another 78 stores. We're still growing in our home province of Alberta after 6 years. So we still think we can add 30 to 40 stores in Alberta alone. And then Saskatchewan is, again, open territory. There's no cap. There's no restrictions. It's a smaller province. So, we're not riding the horse to start building in Saskatchewan aggressively. But eventually, even in Saskatchewan, I think we'll have a sizable market share. Currently, we have 12 locations. Manitoba, we have 11 locations, but a lot of room to grow in that market as well. So tons and tons of room to grow. And don't believe speculation. Look at the track record, right?
Yeah.
And we've really honed in on our craft, Chad, in terms of getting organic locations, the best quality locations that I can find. Our model is very, very strong. What happens when you couple it with amazing locations? You have a winning strategy. So we're focused on that. This is why very little M&A has happened, because who's some
of your real estate people? Because when I have gone around, when you go to Toronto, for example, there's a dispensary almost at every single block. But I have found that some of your locations, there aren't as many. So walk us through what's this, obviously common sense is you don't want to be in an oversaturated market. Whereas Toronto, it's all about convenience, especially when you deal with the traffic. It's just voted, I think traffic-wise, the worst city in the world. But maybe talk and highlight some of the real estate people that you have in play and why you're able to expand. And again, you look at these same store sales, national average is 2%, you're at 6%. So how's that happen, and what's their strategy when it comes to certain locations when picking the right choice?
Look, in my prepared remarks in the earnings call, I called our real estate team a fine-tuned machine, and they truly are. And it consists of, Joy, our head of legal. She's very tuned in with the larger landlords in the country.
Yeah,
I'm a big part of it. Every location is vetted by me.
So you take part in a lot of those decisions.
Absolutely. Not only take part, I evaluate every single location for all the KPIs that we have. The final decision rests with me in terms of what we're bringing, but we're a team. We have a fantastic data scientist that works very closely to us. His name is Nigel. Nigel, if you're listening, you're awesome. Joy, you as well. Olina, you too. So we're a small team, but we're delivering on real estate. And the proof is in the pudding. The fact that we executed and we survived and now we're thriving and we can produce results and free cash flow, we're also getting very good opportunities from the larger landlords in the country that are inbound into us, Shaq. So we did the hard work, and now we're reaping the benefits.
So what are you seeing, I guess, as far as, we talk about, and this is where it really comes to fruition, that a country, maybe they got the rollout a little bit wrong, but what's done is done. You look at Canada, federally legalized country for now, 7 years in a row now. We've matured. We've learned. I've had conversations with Margaret Brody over at Rubicon. She's been over here at Europe, and she's like, we're 10 years ahead of this market right now. And this is where the benefits of being in a country where it's federally legalized creates big opportunities for obviously importing into various countries. But when you look at, and I want to go back to this, you've lobbied the provincial government. Do you have conversations with Premier Ford? How is he viewing this space right now? And I'm hopeful with obviously this new party and Mark Carney being the prime minister that they start to look and start to empower Canadian businesses to start working better with each other, especially when you look at various provinces.
Yeah, 100%. Look, we're the movers and shakers of cannabis amongst some other licensed producers in the country. So the governments are paying attention when we have something to say. And we are lobbying all levels of government. I have personally not spoken to Premier Ford, although I've done that with Premier Smith multiple times in Alberta.
Okay.
But, all
what's her stance on it? Because she's made a lot of news lately.
Listen, I stand behind Premier Smith on our business skill set. She's truly, truly open to business. So huge compliments to Premier Smith, the red tape reduction Minister Nelly. They're really making moves not only for the cannabis industry, but for all business, which is extremely refreshing to see. That has not happened in the past. Ontario is being very receptive. Manitoba is being very receptive, as you see some policy changes happening in Manitoba as well. So we think that is going to continue for the better. I might even have some very, very good news to share with the broader industry in the coming months that we've been working on for quite some time. That again, we'll just open up the industry. That
involves Canada?
That involves Canada. I'm talking strictly about Canada. Look, we've done the hard work. And it's not fair for cannabis companies to still go bankrupt because of government policies.
Right.
So that should change. And that should change immediately. But you know what? I have to say this: when the credit is due, it must be given. Canadian government, as of late, has been extremely receptive to changes in the cannabis industry. We just hope something more happens at the federal level.
Okay, so you're talking about the provincial level. It's been different. Yeah, Premier Smith, she's made a lot of news, obviously, lately, and she's making it loud and clear that she wants the federal government to hear what's going on in Alberta and definitely wants their voices heard on, just the overall economy, which is, I think, great to see and some valid points. But change is good, so we'll see how that all develops in the next coming months and if not years. But we are hearing more and more is just getting more provinces easier to do business within each other is what Mark Carney, the Prime Minister, has said. Can you maybe elaborate off of that as to what kind of changes that you're seeing? I don't know if they've been implemented yet, but maybe give an example of what it was like before and what changes that we could see happening and really how that benefits you.
So look, I can only talk about it from specifications in cannabis. We've heard nothing in terms of cannabis changes coming up, but I can tell you that I feel the same way. Prime Minister Carney seems very open to business. He's talking about a massive infrastructure plan for Canada, open up all of the provinces. Let's open up domestic trade before we start worrying about the international barriers that are going against us. So I think this is a perfect recipe, getting the right Prime Minister in place, being backed by premiers that are aggressive and open for business, such as, Premier Ford and Premier Smith. So I think the country's finally headed into the right direction.
Well, yeah, I'll say that too, because obviously the stuff that's gone on with President Trump, with Canada and the U.S., and there's a lot of animosity between the two countries right now. But it almost seems like whatever that loss is, it's actually a wake-up call as to what's going on in our own backyard and how do we make this more attractive for businesses to thrive within the country of Canada, which, is hopefully good to see. And one of the things we talk about is excise tax. Do you see that changing at all? Is it still too early to say?
Look, on your first point, what doesn't kill you make you stronger, right? So it's a good thing that it happened to us and we woke up. In terms of excise tax, I think there will be some movement for sure. Licensed producers have been lobbying the government for quite some time, rightfully so. It's very, very punitive in nature, but we are hearing good things about it. I just don't know the timing on when that will take effect.
67 SKUs now in a lot of the dispensaries. Consumers want choice. And what are you seeing as far as consumers now that we're 7 years into a country that federally legalized it? And how much has changed in that timeline? And like you said, that's a lot of different variety, I would say. And why the reasoning, and what are you seeing and hearing back to make that kind of decision?
Look, 6-7 years is a long time operating in cannabis. And the one thing I've learned in cannabis is the customer always wants variety. It's not like, we're set on our liquor standards. If you like Grey Goose, you go to a liquor store and you buy Grey Goose. That is not necessarily the case with cannabis. Our customers are still coming in. Our club members are still coming in. It's like, what's new and exciting? Highest THC, lowest price, but what's new and exciting? So the producers have to constantly work on honing in their craft and producing and getting something new to the market. What we've done to build those 67 SKUs that you just mentioned under Queen of Bud and Cabana Cannabis Co. is we've gone in a differentiated direction. We picked California-inspired SKUs for our Queen of Bud brand, and we launched it at a very opportunistic time when Alberta opened up white label. And what's that done is that Queen of Bud sales are exploding. As a reminder, we only paid $1 million for that brand, and we've just done $1.35 million in sales already, and it only launched in September of last year. We think we can do $5 million in Queen of Bud this year, and then keep growing from there.
All right, let's talk about the big question. There was an announcement about Germany and that opportunity, and at the same time too, we're in Mary Jane, we're in Berlin right now, and we see some of the numbers as far as the medical market and how it's grown over the past year. Where are we with that? And how important is it? Obviously, it's very important for you to be entering into this market, but I don't know what you can and can't share about making, a commitment and actually signing some sort of distribution deal, or whether it is, whatever that whole landscape basically pieces out to be. But where are we with this European market, and how important is it for you to, finally sign on the dotted line for whoever that you might be working with, if that's even the case?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Europe has been exploding in terms of medical cannabis, especially Germany. Last quarter 2023, we were talking about 8 tons of total movement. Last quarter 2024, we were talking about, or third quarter 2024, we were talking about 20 tons. Fourth quarter was 32 tons. So it's absolutely exploding. It's over north of 120 tons now on an annual basis, and it's still growing. And when we look at this situation, we find ourselves like, hey, wait a second. We're doing about $550 million in trailing sales. Close to $400 million are going into procurement for us in Canada. We are the guys to procure cannabis from Canada and send it to Europe. Canada is basically the leader in the world for cannabis exports. About 50% of all exports from Canada, or 50% of all imports into Germany, are happening from Canada, and we are the best positioned group to facilitate that.
That's everything I'm hearing here is like, I always give this example. Imagine a new state that comes online. You have 84 million people within that state. But I did hear a number that as much as 1,400 tons were sold basically last year in Germany in the black market. So when you look at 84 million people and the education that's going on, I can understand why a lot of exporting opportunities are front and center with a lot of Canadian LPs. So off of that, what do you anticipate, I guess, over these next year or two in the German market, and really what it does for a lot of companies like yourselves?
So look, we're very excited about what's happening here, although it doesn't come without risks. There are conversations from the newly appointed health minister from the CDU that they want to roll back e-prescriptions, rightfully so, because people can simply fill up a questionnaire and get medical cannabis. So the system can be abused, and probably is being abused a little bit. So they want to change that to in-person consultations first. If they're unable to do that, maybe they'll go back to making cannabis a narcotic, but we do not think that's going to happen. That's not industry consensus. There's legal implications of that happening as well. But this is still early days in Germany. It could go 2 to 3 times from here. And Germany is one market. Germany is really the stepping stone for us to get into other European markets. Germany is big enough for us. Canada's 40 million. Like you said, Germany is 84 million. So we are under contract with a very exciting company. It's a leading wholesaler and importer of medical cannabis. That's all I can share for now. There's no guarantees the transaction will close, but it can close as early as 2 weeks. So we're excited, and we've been very, very focused. And we've been very focused on due diligence. The first one didn't work out with PureCan, and we just want to make sure, after waiting patiently for this long, we don't make any mistakes just to enter into a very exciting market. It will happen for us, but could take some time.
I was going to say, you answered pretty much the next question, like how important is it and how soon is it for you to enter into this German market? So needless to say, this is a very important market for you.
So look, how important it is, we would be stupid to not leverage our $1.7 billion in procurement expertise. We're the best positioned company. We're not a single operator or licensed producer like an Aurora or a Tilray or an Organigram. And they're all doing fantastic in their own right. They're producing some great numbers internationally. But we can leverage each one of those producers because we work with all of them without growing a single gram of cannabis.
Yeah.
That's what excites me. And we've already proven the thesis of our business model because as soon as producers found out we want to do this, we're getting inbounds. We have 40 plus producers now willing to go on, and 12 or 13 are willing to go exclusive with us inbound voluntarily.
So walk us through, how would that work?
So basically, there's a lot of producers that are not currently exporting into Europe that we want to consolidate and build that Canadian house of brands and bring it to Germany.
Right.
And there are a lot of producers because of the relationships
when you're
we have
speaking
in Canada,
where are they located? Like all across the world, like whereabouts?
all across Canada. At the moment, I'm only talking about Canada. Now, the wholesaler and importer we're talking about is an extremely sophisticated group, and they're importing from multiple countries, but about 1/3 of their imports are from Canada. We want to take that to half of the imports at least coming from Canada. So that will be accretive in nature. But these producers are located all over Canada. They're micro, they're small, they're medium sized, and they're also large producers.
That's huge.
I'm excited.
I understand why there's positive sentiment, especially when you have EU GMP graded facilities like, within this market. It's a heavy compliant market and the rollout is slow, but it's the right thing. We actually had a conversation last week at the Botega conference in Chicago. And the biggest difference between the European market and the US when it comes from how the government views it is everywhere in Europe, it's all based on data. Mm-hmm. Where in Washington, it's all based on belief. And that is the challenge, obviously, at the American market. I've heard some rumors that there could be some changes in the next short term in the US. But really, if it's illegal to get kickbacks, doctors to prescribe opioid drugs here in Germany, and instead you're looking at actual hardcore data that the government then speaks with pharmacists, and they're showing the numbers early on what medical cannabis is doing. Nothing is getting in the way, which is common sense prevailing, which is a great thing with regards to this market specifically. Do you think the same applies to all these different countries in Europe as well as to how are other countries viewing Germany right now? Do you know?
I think it absolutely does. I mean, Canada was the first G7 country to legalize it, at least on a recreational level. Medical cannabis has been around for decades since the 1990s. And that program was totally different from the recreational program. But at least the medical market has been, well launched in Germany, and other countries are taking a note. Czech Republic, for example, also opened up their market exactly like Germany, although it's a tinier market.
Yep.
Poland is also relatively easing regulations on where it started. So, things are looking better and better all the time. And there are other countries definitely looking at the German model. Switzerland has gone in a different direction with the scientific pilot projects, which are also happening in Germany. So all of these countries in Europe are learning from each other, looking at what each other are doing. And this is why I feel, Shad, that the momentum is here now.
I know.
Because Germany is so real, the sales are real, given all the turmoil we have with trade talks. Cannabis is a nice avenue for countries to start generating some economic output.
So underneath these headphones, I have another set of headphones here, and I just got an alert, and it was from Guap, and he told me to ask you about, Germany and everything. So Guap, if you're watching, hi buddy, good to see you. And Raj will say hello too, but thanks for the questions. But this is good. This is positive momentum. I like the idea that, let's face it, when federally legalized in Canada, Canada's only so big, and we needed new markets, kind of like what the Americans are experiencing right now, where there's not a lot of new states coming online. People were hopeful, obviously, with the Amendment 3 last November concerning Florida. That's been obviously delayed. But when you have minimal states going online, you're going to see, obviously, flat growth right now. I'll learn a little bit more when I speak to Pablo Zuanich regarding that. But I think this is what people need to understand and why the sentiment's changed in Canada. Because, yes, Canada's got the 40 million people, but it's the exporting opportunities when you see a market this size, which is great to see. And you can't lie, I wish people were here, but you've got 1,000 exhibitors and would it take you about 3 or 4 days to find where we were located on this floor here today?
Yeah, no, first of all, hey, Guap, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing well. It's a very exciting time for us.
Questions. Yeah, go on.
It's a very exciting time for us. Shad, think about this. We have Canada to be content with, and we're doing $550 million in trailing revenue. It's a state of California. It's that size, right?
Right.
And then you look at, we can still grow another 100 stores minimum in Canada. That's another quarter billion dollars or so coming up for our top line. And now Europe is opening up. So if we can, tap into these opportunities, Canada is sort of, growing at the pace that we wanted to grow while still generating free cash flow. If we can open Europe, it's going to be massive for HITI.
What do you think happens if they get rescheduling announced in the U.S. and how that'll affect the European market? Well, change. Like I know it's two completely separate topics, but is it? Like, do you think that kind of influence with an announcement like that will have any kind of reaction? Of course, there'll be a reaction, but what kind of response as far as fast tracking in any way, or do you think that changes really anything?
I think it'll be very positive response, but for us, the key exchanges would have to move. So NASDAQ would have to move. Yeah. Toronto Stock Exchange would have to move on their policies for us to start operating dispensaries in the United States. But I'll wait my turn. I've got my hands full. We got to build another 100 stores in Canada. We've got Germany opening up. We're under contract with a revolutionary distributor and importer. So, right now we're focused on what we need to do. When the U.S. opportunity is there, we are ready. That's probably what, the best opportunity is going to look like. But we're patiently waiting for that because we've got a lot on our plate.
What market interests you the most right now in Canada?
In Canada, it will still be
Saskatchewan, Manitoba, in Ontario. Those are the key three.
I would say Ontario being the biggest, right? 15 million people. We're at 82 stores. I can still add 68 stores in Ontario alone. Our average store in Ontario is doing $3.2 million when the peer revenue is only $1.1 million. So you see the difference there?
So more in the GTA, Greater Toronto area, or are we looking to expand even further? I see a couple places in and around London, and for those trying to understand, so you have Detroit and you have Toronto, and it's basically a 4-hour drive. But along southwestern Ontario and along that whole American border up to Montreal, you've got perhaps 90% of Ontario's population, which is close to 15 million people. And really, I've had conversations with Premier Ford, and he is pro-business. When Kathleen Wynne was the premier, they wanted to have it government controlled, kind of like what the liquor stores are within the actual province of Ontario. For some time, there wasn't enough dispensaries. I think at one time there was only like 30 across the entire province. So he opened up the doors, maybe a little bit too much, but there's a lot of operators that didn't really understand what they were doing. So that now creates opportunity for you. So with that, what are some areas that you could explain as to why it would make sense for you in Ontario?
So look, Ontario has a ton of growth that remains for the Canna Cabana brand. Initially, we were focused on the ancillary markets or the smaller markets, because once a strong brand like Canna Cabana goes in, it's very hard because the market's small already, for other operators to come and compete with us. But now we're finding that the other strategy is working even better for us because our brand is so strong now. Shad, Canna Cabana is so well known with 200 stores and such a massive membership community at 1.9 million club members.
Yeah.
We're feeling that we can put up a store in the GTA on the main and it doesn't matter if 7 stores are around us. Guess what? Things still start gravitating towards Canna Cabana. So that's a highly successful, it's paying off dividends. It's a really successful move for us. So we're actually looking for more locations in the GTA. I'm opening 3 more in Scarborough.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Which is a demographic that I know who lives in that area that obviously would be a big opportunity upside for cannabis. I watched an interview one time where Kevin O'Leary said his son approached him about Tesla and investing stock into it. He's like, I'm not interested in investing into an automotive company. He's like, it's not an automotive company. It's a data company. And when you talk about some of the growth that you've had, with your database and your elite members, maybe elaborate a little bit more and explain a little bit more as to like how that helps you basically select specific areas and really converts into sales for you.
So look, elite members are just a product of what we did with Cabana Club. We launched the Cabana Club, which was our free tier. We've always said we're going to convert it into a paid tier. 2 years ago, we launched Elite. It's been extremely successful. Like I said, 120% growth rates year over year, 20% sequential growth. It's irrespective of the location that we are picking, and Elite is growing. It's not tied to a location. It's tied to our brand. It's tied to our value proposition on what we're able to offer, keep up with our brand promise, and the word is spreading out. Our Cabana Club is quickly converting into Elite. They're calling their friends and family. Just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Well, it's branding opportunities as well in a country that obviously has limitations about what you can and can't do. But that is obviously important. And other branding opportunities is obviously coming on our podcast. That's probably at the top, right?
Absolutely. You're the best man to do that with. So thank you for having me.
Let's see if we got any comments here. I see Guap putting hashtag high tide about 30 times, but there we go.
Nice.
But overall, this has been good, great experience. I'm glad I came over here and kind of get an idea as to like how Canada is being viewed from an exporting opportunity. And I can understand why, there's huge potential upside, and it's great to see because everything that's old is kind of new again, and it's good to see.
I think people are calling this the largest cannabis show in Europe.
They are.
They're saying it's very, very large. I've just seen a couple of halls. It's massive. I don't think I'm going to get the time to check everything out because I've got so many meetings besides the interviews. So, no, it's very refreshing to see that. And like you said, other countries in Europe are getting inspired by what Germany is doing.
Yeah.
And they're all here. I'm seeing booths here from Colombia. I'm seeing booths here from Lesotho, from Thailand. So producers are here to sell their medical cannabis, and things are really taking off. Canada should not be left behind. Canadians need to act now. This is a federally legal jurisdiction, unlike the United States, more friendlier, and we have a big opportunity here.
Nice city, Berlin, isn't it?
Very nice.
Really awesome.
Cool and casual.
I know, 4 million people, but a lot of culture here, that's for sure. I got a chance to see the Berlin Wall yesterday. That was pretty incredible to see.
Nice. I got to do some hanging out in Berlin.
Yeah, you know what? I was like, you know what? If I'm going to come this far, I might as well hang out for a day or two just to see, like, I know the city other than just being in an exhibition booth. But it's great to see. Stick around. We're trying to get Mike Tyson on here today as well. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. A lot of big name people.
All this later.
I know. But tell Omar and the team I say hi. Congrats, obviously, in the latest numbers. And yeah, it's nice to see. I know there's probably, I won't get too much into it, but I think there's a few competitors out there that like what you're doing too, but we'll just leave it at that.
I'm hearing. Hey, first to market wins. We're originals. We will always be the originals, and we will be leading the pack. Stay tuned.
Yeah. What do you say to competition right now that are like, that are watching you right now as far as a model? And people can put 2 and 2 together as to who I'm referring to.
I wish them good luck.
Yeah.
I tell them to hone in on their value proposition, even if it's discounting. That's fine. I don't own discounting. We're just one of them, but we really honed in on our craft, so I'm not worried. And I like competition. It brings the best in you.
Game on, right?
Game on always.
All right, my friend.
Thank
good
you so
seeing
much,
you.
man.
All right, Raj Grover from High Tide. Great interview. Hope you guys got some good dialogue. I know a lot of people that follow this are big High Tide investors and love Raj Grover and his story. So looks like Germany could be in the cards as far as their interest in the next little bit, but I hope we got the responses that you did. We're going to have actually, who have I got coming up next? Pablo Zoanich is going to be coming on in just a moment. Deepak Anand, our TDR European correspondent, we're calling him today. He's going to be joining us as well just to talk about the European market. A lot of people, know him from the early days of the Canadian market, so he'll shed some light on what the European market has learned, some mistakes that they've made, but where we are today and where we're going. And like I said, trying to get Iron Mike on as well. Paul Ferraro from Village Farms. I know that's another story that you guys really like a lot. Great speaker. Saw him in Washington back in March on a panel, but he's going to talk about the Holland opportunity with Village Farms and the German market. Another Canadian LP with huge upside potential to exporting opportunities. That's all coming up next. TDR's Traded Black podcast, Mary Jane, live from Berlin, Germany. I'm your host, Shad Dales, presented by Advanced Nutrients here at Mary Jane Berlin. Hey everyone, thanks again for watching. Listen, we're almost at 50,000 subs here on our YouTube channel. So if you just watched this podcast and you haven't subscribed, make sure to do so now. We'd very much appreciate it. As usual, like and leave your comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. Any questions, feel free to reach out and we'll get back to you. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks again for watching our latest Trade to Black podcast. Thanks, everyone.